Hi, welcome to Write More Late. My name is Sarah, and I'm coming to you from Midwest Writing Center. In case you are not familiar with this web series, half the time I'm giving a itty bitty writing lesson. Half the time I am interviewing someone excellent in the arts. Today is less a writing lesson and more just a getting writing done lesson. Um, my Excuse me, got a frog in my throat today. My language is going to be geared toward writers, but this topic in particular should translate to really pretty much any area where you've got goals. Um, I wanted to, I'm sorry, at the end of the little lesson, I'll give updates on the Midwest Writing Center and then provide a writing prompt. I wanted to talk about goal setting that isn't scary around New Year's because it's so, New Year's coded with resolutions and goals and all that. It didn't work out. I see people all the time doing this like personal coaching and influencer and productivity stuff where they show you how they've just magically made it all happen. And it gets me really upset. Partially because I have ADHD and I've fallen down these organizational rabbit holes a lot, and partially because everyone kind of has the same advice and it isn't really one size fits all. And it always seems to require that you have a lot of free time and that you are just naturally organized. Um, so today's advice is coming from someone who's not naturally predisposed to being well organized and who has almost no free time. It's meant to be this goal setting that I'm going to walk through is meant to be cut up into tiny little pieces and it's meant to make you feel good. Um, it's from me having seen every single piece of writerly goal setting advice out there, and from having used 1,000 planners meant to cure me of ADHD, and from having ADHD. Um, for a moment, I want to know why I'm talking about me having ADHD at all. And it's notable here because it actually kind of makes me an expert on the topic. Because people with ADHD don't produce enough dopamine. Dopamine is the thing that makes you feel good about completing a task. It's also the thing that helps you start a task. That's why people with ADHD tend to either not get much done or not be able to function until 3 minutes before a deadline. No matter how important or pressing something is, our brains, this is called executive dysfunction or executive function, just stop us from being able to do the thing. So while having ADHD doesn't make me good at stuff, and I imagine life is easier without it, it does mean that I've tried everything under the sun to figure out how to get stuff done. Um, so this advice should work for neurotypical people too. Um, you'll just have an advantage. So first, write every single, and I mean this like get yourself I am always going to advocate for actual paper and pen, paper and pencil. But if you absolutely must use your computer, then open up a new document. Um, and actually do this. You can pause the video and do the thing I'm suggesting and come back to the video or try to get it done while I talk. Um, or just I don't know. It's fine. Take notes or don't. Um, but write down every single dream you have for your current project, wildest and smallest dreams. And I'm going to do this as much in real time as I can. Um, if I can remember how to screen share. Okay, here we go. Um, so we're going to, this is goal. No. Okay. Goal setting. We're gonna say my goal is all my wildest goals are finish book, publish book, become famous and rich from book, go on tour, teach, do class visits, get a paperback. Uh, paperback's one word. Get it translated. A movie gets made. Write a second book. Okay, those are my all my goals surrounding this current project. Um, and I guess I'm a little bit kind of gearing this toward prose in my mind, but I will point out places where a poetry project or a non-prose project or a collection will differ. But presumably you know your work well enough that you can handle that on your own. Then from here, we're gonna start. The first thing I'm gonna I'm gonna look at this list, and the first thing, the thing that comes in order in this goal setting is finish the book. So that's the first thing that we're gonna look at. Um, and stay with me. Don't get overwhelmed here. We're gonna have to define finish. Um, in this moment, what I mean is a finished draft. So really, I mean my goal is finished draft of book. Um, if you want to, include all the steps between finished draft and like publishing, cool. I think that's a lot. And the idea is not to get overwhelmed. So we're sticking with the one goal. Um, but then, once you finish the draft, do the same process with publishing, I guess, agenting, querying, whatever it is, whatever that looks like, submissions for you. Um, yeah. So, um, this next bit is pretty annoying. But just please bear with me. Do the steps along with me, whatever. We're gonna be winning this writing thing so hard in in no time. No. The timeline that I've worked out for this I don't know, tutorial is a year. So like we're being realistic. Um, what's it take? What does that look like? I might need an outline. Let's say I need another 150 pages written. Um, I haven't written the climax yet. If you're me, you're also not writing it in chronological order. Uh, this is a good one. This is a good overlap for poetry or just generally collections. You have to put it in order. Put it in order. Um, so yeah, I'm telling you, I'm thinking of poets, as well. So climax here is gonna have to come after you put it in order, probably a few times, so you can see what kind of shape your poems are making as a collection. But that will matter too for folks putting a collection together. Where is the focal point of the piece? Where is the tension, stuff like that. Um, so this is a rough shape, right? Um, but this is, steps along the way for getting to finished. Now we're gonna look at how much time do I have in a week that I can realistically devote to this project. Realistically is the operative word here. Um, some of us just don't have a lot of time. So if you're not sure, you'll either have to schedule yourself time, which is awesome, and important and good to do. You belong on your own schedule. Um, or if you can't do that or you're not sure, I actually have a whole video on this. Um, but pay attention to when you find yourself scrolling, or waiting, because those are times when you don't have another obligation, probably. Um, I think best practice is to schedule that time. If you need some accountability, you can schedule it as a meeting with a friend online or in person. I don't care. Where you're both working on something. If you can trust yourself with getting it done without scheduling, more power to you. I can't. If you find that you have more than like 30 to 60 minutes in a week, you can do this a couple of times a week, which is the dream. Uh, don't take that for granted. Um, Unless, of course, it's like I have Sundays off and no one will bother me on Sundays. Then, you got for some reason you want to spend 6 hours on Sundays doing a single task. Well, I'm not in charge of your life. Um, so with that time, you know how much time, you know when you have it. Um, Here's the next step. Timeline. This doesn't really matter. We're gonna say a year. Then we make a backwards calendar, which are kind of my favorite thing. They really, 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 really help me focus and understand how to get things done. They were instrumental in me figuring out how to how to get anything done. I learned it working on a literary magazine, but I use it every time I publish anything, every time I've got a big project, every time I travel. Backwards calendars are amazing. What you do is you start with the last day. So we're going to say April 1st, 2026. Um, that's the day I'm going to be finished. Book is drafted. So then on March 31st, I need to make sure the book is in chronological order. Or not chronological, whatever kind of order it needs to be in. Um, if the book needs to be arranged on March 31st, I should have finished writing it on March 30th. Um, if I have 150 pages to write between now and March 30th, I already did this math because I'm very bad at math. Um, then hypothetically, I need to write 3 pages a week, right? 150 pages, 52 weeks between now and then. So I'll give myself the month of March to write the final scenes or chapter or pieces that go into it. Again, if we're saying this is easier for like a long form prose project, because you're like, I need a page count to meet, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to meet any page count. Definitely don't have to meet any page count, but if for whatever reason you were like, this is what a full length book is, cool. It's unfortunately not that simple. You know, you don't know necessarily how long each essay is going to be, how long each poem is going to be, how long each chapter is going to be. You don't know how many poems you necessarily will need. I mean, you can figure those things out depending, like, are you going for a full-length collection or are you going for a chapbook? Um, your average poem that you write is 1 page. You need 70 poems, right? Like you can figure it out for whatever your project is. Um, we're going with this long form prose project that needs another 150 pages for whatever reason. Um, so during the month of March, we need to write 12 pages. But in doing that, March last chapter. But in doing that, we figured out we need to write 3 pages a week. That's our first goal. 3 pages per week. So write that somewhere important, off like in wherever you are taking notes. That's your first goal. Um, 3 pages a week. And then also you'll want to write that wherever you have a calendar, wherever you keep your, I have a paper calendar. You probably use your phone because you are not me. Um, so you're, so whatever it is that you decide, 3 pages a week could be 12 pages a month, could be 6 pages, bi-weekly, whatever. Um, so that you remember that's your goal. Um, and then when we're going back to our calendar here, I want to have my climax written in 6 months. 6 months is September, I think. No, I think it's October. We're going with September though. Um, climax is written. Okay, to have my climax written, I will need to have my plot fleshed out. That means that I should probably have an outline. This one, I'm going to close the document. This one is not one that I like. I'm a pantser. I write what comes when it comes and have a vague idea of how it's going to turn out. Um, knowing your story is going somewhere is going to save you a lot of pain and hardship in the long run. So if it is a long form prose project and it has an arc to it or whatever, or you hope that it does, um, you can do just the loosest outline. I'm going to reference my interview with Tatiana Schlody-Bonet. Um, the first step is just to write the parts you know in a list. This happens, so this happens, so this happens, so this happens. Just make sure that each event leads to the climax and know what your denouement is going to be. Denouement, resolution, the way things settle in the end. Um, again, if you're putting together a collection, if it's say essays or stories, you should want to know still at this point what the general shape is going to be. I mean, not I'm not shooting you. I'm not telling you what your timeline should be, but we're talking about the climax. Um, and making that the next goal. Um, you probably have written your centerpiece, right? The piece that's going to anchor the rest of the collection. Cool. Um, also, maybe this just isn't something relevant to your goals. You have to figure that out for yourself. Um, something for short form or poetry folks that you should include in your goals in your um process of finishing your collection out is workshopping. If you're, say, going to write a poem a month, are you able to also workshop a poem a month? Or two poems a month or whatever it is. Um, then what else maybe needs to go into, excuse me, into this particular goal? Do you need to find a workshop group? Do you need to I don't know. Um, I hope you get the idea. More things might pop up all the time that will need to get added to your little goals. That's why the process I'm walking through right now matters. Writing it down, especially longhand, or even talking through it will help you process how much work actually needs to be done and what little steps you can separate out. So, um, yeah. So if it is a poetry collection, and you want to have that finished in 1 year, how many poems have you already written that you're proud of? You want them to go into this collection. What themes do they have in common? What forms do they have in common? What is the through line here? And then from there. Um, cool. So the next step in this process, once you've figured out big goal, little goals, um, how to get those pieces to connect and build into each other, set yourself check-ins. If you're going to write a poem a week or 3 pages a week, you should have 12 to 15 pages a month or 4 to 5 poems per month. That seems crazy. Poets, are you okay? Set yourself a monthly check-in to check on your own progress. But you have to know, what are you going to do if you fall behind? What are you going to do to celebrate hitting 30 pages or 50 pages? I would say using a journal specific to this project can be really, really helpful. Um, I skipped a step. Make sure you're asking yourself at intervals, what tools are you taking advantage of? What tools are you using? Or are there tools that would help you do it better? I don't really know what that means for you or for anyone. Um, I know, what kind of notebook I like. I know, some people like Pomodoro timers. I'm not one of those people. Um, but yeah, it's something to ask yourself periodically, maybe every other month. So yeah, I'm gonna say again, using a journal specific to this project can be really, really helpful. Note where you've left off, what themes you're noticing, how you felt after working on this particular section, what you want to remember next time you sit down, stuff like that. I'm serious about this. I didn't come up with that idea. It's just an incredible idea. I think I learned it from Alexander Chi, and he learned it from someone else. From an essay of his. I don't know him. We're not buddies, but maybe someday I'll eat my words. Um, am really, really serious about this stuff. This is how you're going to notice how well you're doing without getting overwhelmed with the, massive stretch ahead of you. Um, because there is no long stretch. And I think that's where most of us get overwhelmed. It's either this is going to take so long, or it's how could I possibly get this much done? Or it's I don't have to do anything now because I've got a year. Um, we have no big stretch if we break it up properly. Do you have monthly goals? Do you have quarterly goals? I obviously haven't fleshed out, you know, this project for you. But I do want to add more questions that are useful to ask yourself when setting up a project like this. Why is this my goal? Why is this important to me? I would suggest journaling on most of these questions. Um, how long have I stuck with a habit in the past? What were those pitfalls? I sound like a guided journal. That's something. Are these goals small enough? Are these goals big enough? How will I forgive myself or redirect myself if I fall behind? Being hard on yourself isn't productive, but being too lenient might also mean that you just let go of the goal altogether. What's a reasonable measurement? A week might work, but maybe a week won't. Maybe it's monthly. Maybe it's twice a week or twice a month. How are you going to carve out space for this if you haven't already made it a habit? And I want to add here that writing doesn't have to be the thing that you do. I've said this a thousand times. I think it's the best piece of advice I've ever heard. It's from the Writing Center's founder, David R. Collins. All you have to do is one thing every day to further your writing. It doesn't have to be writing. Mulling these things over matters. Um, brainstorm things that might get in your way. Illness, visitors, weather, distractions. I don't know. Um, and how you'll work with those interruptions. How are you going to measure your progress? What are meaningful milestones? Page count, publication, submission, workshopping. When I say publication, I mean like if you've got smaller sections published. When will you review your progress and how often? Now I'm going to suggest wherever you keep track of appointments and stuff, set appointments for checking in on your own progress. Like I said already, I use a paper calendar, but probably having a reminder on your phone is better. There's lots to pick through and figure out what works for you. But the most important thing to carry with you is to break down any goal into smaller pieces. That part, I think most people out there with goal setting advice do say. Um, I already regret what I'm about to say, but I've worked in places that really love the SMART goal acronym. Um, and it is useful here. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Um, measurable goals matter. Um, because when it's vague, when it's like, I want to feel good about the progress I've made, like that goalpost moves. You'll either always succeed or you'll never succeed at that one. Um, yeah. Does this advice work for you? Do you hate it? Does something else work better? Uh, let me know. Let me know. Um, that was my goal setting talk. And I'm gonna move into updates from the Midwest Writing Center. Didn't bring my planner with me, so this will probably be real quick. Um, yeah, okay. So this Thursday, I'm going to be hanging out at the Atlas Collective. That's April 3rd, with Tatiana Schlotti-Bonet. It's a reading and book signing for her book, Such Lovely Skin, but we're going to be in conversation. I'm going to ask her lots of probing questions. You can also drop what questions you think I should ask her down in the comments. Um, this Friday, April 4th, Ryan Collins, our director of the Writing Center, and Joshua Bonsack, one of our authors, will be reading at the Lit Crawl with Mission Creek. That's in Iowa City. They'll be at Revive, so you know where to find them. Then on April 5th, Saturday, we're going to be at the Mission Creek Book Fair, slinging books. Uh, let's see. Coming up next week, we have Pulitzer Prize runner-up and National Book Award finalist Elizabeth Willis will be reading at Ross Talks for the Spectra reading series. Um, Opening for her is Tanya Rastogi, who's the Iowa Student Poetry Ambassador this year, and Sophia Best, who won the Iowa Chapbook Prize a couple of years ago for her book Pink Bathwater. There's also an open mic at that event. It's going to be good. It's going to be so good. And the Atlas Collective will be providing those books, Lion Taming in America, for sale. That will be awesome. Coming up April 12th, we have an online workshop. That's a Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time with Anait Cass. It's called Transmissions from the Ancestors. This workshop asks us to pick an object or a photo that's important from um, our family line and bring that with you to the class, and then we will write um, into some of the processes that helped her create her book, Reparations of the Heart. April 26th, we have an online workshop with Tatiana Shaloti-Bonet. It's Tatiana Shaloti-Bonet month. It's called Writing Fear. And because she's a horror writer, it makes a lot of sense that that this is horror focused, but the class is really about writing a protagonist and an antagonist that are really fleshed out and really speak to each other, and you can really get under the skin of your protagonist if you know them well enough. I'll be taking that. I'm very excited about it. Um, our writer regroup group is meeting Thursday, April 10th from 2 to 4 at the Brood Book, and again on April 22nd from 12 to 2 at the Midwest Writing Center. The Midwest Writing Center is located on the ground floor of the downtown branch of the Rock Island Public Library. We have a ton going on this month, and I'm sure I've missed quite a bit of it, but you can check our socials, check our website for any more details that you think I might be missing. So I'm going to leave you with this prompt. Set yourself a 5-minute, 10-minute timer. Just write what comes, however it comes is great. It can be a poem, it can be an essay, it can be a story, it can be stream of consciousness, it can be a journal. Um, Here we go. Imagine you or someone else are on a boat in open water. Where are you going? Who is with you? What kind of boat is it? Thanks for hanging out with me today. And as always, please write more light into your life.